Hey there, Ryan Reynolds here. It's a new year, and you know what that means. No, not the diet. Resolutions. A way for us all to try and do a little bit better than we did last year. And my resolution, unlike big wireless, is to not be a raging and raise the price of wireless on you every chance I get. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, Atlanta. Apple is open for small business. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. With privacy and security built in on all devices, it's easy for you to protect your customers' data. And if you need hardware or software support, you'll get advice from business experts at no cost whatsoever. So you can focus more on the soup du jour and less on, the other stuff. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/small business or visit an Apple store to learn more.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger Delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 148 of the USA Soccer Cast. We are bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald Wine. We are here after what was a fun January camp for once. We're going to recap all of that. But first off, my apologies. My apologies for the audio issues on the last 2 episodes. That's what happens when you don't plug in your microphone. It happens. I'm really sorry about that, but hopefully you enjoyed the content that was shared about the January camps for both the men and the women. We turn our attention to the men's camp because the men's camp involved 2 matches, one against Venezuela and one against Costa Rica. We will recap those. And then a little bit later, we'll talk about one particular player on the women's national team and her world record transfer across the pond. But first, let's start with the men's January camp. 2 matches, as I mentioned. USA 3, Venezuela 1. That was in the first match down in Fort Lauderdale. You had goals by Jack McGlynn, Patrick Agmayang, and Matko Miljevic. And then they went to Orlando. I was at that game. Very cold game. Some rain in the forecast. It didn't rain during the game, thankfully, but it was still very, very cold for Orlando. USA 3, Costa Rica 0. Your goals by Brian White, Caden Clark, and once again, Patrick Agmayang. That, first of all, I think the idea around this camp was accentuated by the fact that we had a lot of players in this camp that a lot of people didn't know who they were before they got there. And now we know some of these names. We had some guys who stepped up and had some great performances, showed that maybe they can be on the fringe of this national team player pool when we have access to a full squad. I'm not talking about guys who might start, but we're talking about depth pieces at this point. And the depth is going to really come in handy this year as we get towards Nations League in March, the Gold Cup in June and July, when we talk about possibly missing players like Weston McKennie and Tim Weah due to the Club World Cup going on at the exact same time. And then even later on, as you get towards building for this World Cup this next year, will it be 23 players on the roster? Will it be 26? In either case, you need to have guys who are fighting for those spots. And I think when you see some of these guys and how they performed against Venezuela, I thought Jack McGlynn was great. I thought he had a great outing. Patrick Schulte was good in goal. He gave up the one goal, but I mean, we had some guys who I thought put in some really good performances. I think the star of this camp, there was maybe two. Patrick Agyemang scored 2 goals. Again, did what you wanted from a nine. He's a big, tall, physical guy. And when you see him in person, I was surprised at how, big he was, but also how he was able to work into spaces. He was able to find spaces behind the defense, really read what the defense in the back line was giving him, and find ways to exploit that in the form of these 2 goals. And I thought the 2 goals were fantastic. But I think the star of this camp was Diego Luna. Diego Luna plays in both games. He starts the second game and breaks his nose a little bit into this game. Had the nose plugs going for the rest of the game. He had the nice little mug shots after the game, I guess, that he's made as part of his profile pic, and all in jest. But hopefully his nose is okay. I know he's going to be necessary for his team down the line. But this was the promise that we saw in Diego Luna when we heard his name 2 or 3 years ago when he was on the youth national team scene. He wasn't called into the Olympics. Of course, there was some controversy around that, maybe some bad blood between him and Marko Mitrovic, the U23 coach. But whatever that was seems to be in the past. He was welcomed in with open arms. He took full advantage of this camp. And I think a lot of people left these 2 matches thinking Diego Luna needs to be a part of this conversation. And I think that's the idea. You want to have guys that are part of this conversation and work their way into the good graces of Mauricio Pochettino. This is his first January camp. He obviously knows some of the guys that he's going to be going with for the long term, but he wants to figure out who is going to be a part of this, process. And it may not just be guys who are on the World Cup roster. You got to have guys that get you there. And it's not just about qualifying. We don't have to do that, obviously, but you need to have young guys who can feature in some of these big tournaments, get real life experience against big time teams. Yes, we're playing CONCACAF for most of the year, but we will have some big time friendlies later on. Who are we going to count on to test ourselves against those good teams? That's the question. That's what January camp starts. This is how you implement his philosophy. You work on some of the formations and the tactics, and you work on what he wants out of these guys. And I know that the guys who weren't in this camp because they were playing for their clubs, I know they were paying attention. They're paying attention to not just the performance of the guys, but they're paying attention to how they're playing, what style they're using, what formation he likes to be in. And just the overall, again, the methodology that Mauricio Pochettino wants to instill in this squad as we start to prepare full send for the World Cup next summer. I think that's what January camp usually is for, but it kind of got lost over the years. And, sure, you call it the Camp Cupcake. I know players don't like that. There's a reason behind that name that has nothing to do with the players on this roster. But in any sense, January camp is an opportunity for guys who have not yet had that exposure to the national team to be seen, to get a chance to show that, yes, I can be a part of this team for years to come. So many guys have started at January camp and boosted their profile to becoming a regular on the national team. And in the instance of a Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey, those sort of guys, it has springboarded them to being one of the legends of American soccer. January camp has that power. January camp has that opportunity for these players. And thankfully, I think a lot of these guys took advantage of this opportunity that was given to them by being a part of this squad in 2025. It's going to help springboard us for the year. It's a nice step for everybody. It's a nice step for the program. I think Mauricio Pochettino got a lot out of it. He probably has some tough decisions to make moving forward, which is exactly what you want. You want these guys to be kind of making him think at night about, hey, I need to scout this guy a little bit more. And for these guys to go back to their clubs in Major League Soccer, in the case of Miljevic, back to Argentina, who I think now he might have a squad in Huracan, it's a chance to build from that and basically use this as a springboard for the rest of the year. A lot of competitions coming up for the men's national team, some friendlies, again, Nations League, Gold Cup, and then after the Gold Cup, it's T-minus 1 year to the World Cup. And everyone's going to be really trying to be in full form to hopefully be one of those guys that represents our country on home soil in a year and a half. We'll pause it right there. On the other side, we'll talk about Naomi Girma. She is going to Chelsea for a world record transfer fee. We'll talk about it very quickly after this break. Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA SoccerCast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA SoccerCast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS store, and Breaking Team. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA SoccerCast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We are back and we shift our attention to the transfer window on the women's side because obviously there has been a lot of movement for some of our national team players, a lot of them changing club situations. But in the instance of Naomi Girma, it was a world record change. Naomi Girma, of course, was a part of the San Diego Wave. She is, in my mind, the best player on the planet. She may not be recognized by the Ballon d'Or or anybody else like FIFA, but we know it, we see it, and the players know it, and they see it. Emma Hayes sees it as well. And in the case of Chelsea, they apparently see it too, because Chelsea has landed Naomi Girma in a world record transfer, $1.1 million. Honestly, should be higher because Girma is so good in my mind that I wanted a world record fee that made it where you had to ask the question for future transfers, are you Naomi Girma or are you not? But in this sense, to break the world record for a transfer, for a defender, of course, for a center back, is incredible. And she will reunite with women's national team and Stanford teammate Caterina Macario. She plays now in the WSL, a huge pickup for Chelsea, who sit 5 points clear of Man City, Arsenal, and Man United. They are in first place. And I think there was a larger question for Naomi Girma. The first thing is focused on her. Maybe now she'll get some respect from the European media. Maybe. We'll see. But I think the idea is that because she played in the NWSL and she played for San Diego, which is on the West Coast, the European media, when they're coming up with all these awards that are recognized worldwide, they had the excuse of saying, oh, we didn't really get to see her play except on the national team. And first of all, that's unfair to Naomi. It's also wrong. You should be watching Naomi Girma play whenever you can. But the idea that she is now right in their backyard, she gets to play against some of the players that they think are the best in the world, both for Chelsea in the Women's Super League, but also in the UEFA Women's Champions League, the FA Cups, the League Cups, whatever, all the competitions that Chelsea will be a part of. Chelsea is going for trophies. And the idea that Naomi Girma could be a boost to them in those quests is definitely great for the club. But for Naomi, it gives her an opportunity to show, hi, yes, it's me, the best player on the planet. You may not have wanted to know that. You may have wanted to deny it. But here I am, and now I'm exposing some of you, who you think are the best players. And so I'm really looking forward to this for her. On the other side, there's the NWSL, and I know a lot of people were concerned at the departure of Naomi Girma. We've seen now reports that Trinity Rodman is getting interest from some of these European clubs. Into that, as someone who is a Washington Spirit fan, I say absolutely not. Keep your hands off. But those rumors are going to start to grow even more for some of our national team players. And you're starting to see these players consider teams abroad to continue their play. But I don't think this is the start of an exodus. I know a few years back, we saw a lot of players decide, hey, until you guys sort this NWSL out, we're going to still go abroad, whether it be on loan, whether it be for a year or two. They want to go abroad to get that experience and then come back to the NWSL once it was fully established and once they had kind of some stability. Well, they have that now. They have way more stability than they've had in the history of the league. But Naomi Girma moving abroad is not the start of an exodus, and that is my belief. But I also think that the NWSL needs to figure out a situation where, yes, we want to retain some of this talent. We don't want Naomi Girma or Trinity Rodman or anyone of that stature on the national team to go abroad. We also want, players to come back home, like Emily Fox. And they need to do what's best for them. It also gives them an opportunity and gives us an opportunity as a national team to have players with different styles and who are comfortable playing against different setups. The way they play in the WSL is far different from the NWSL. The way they play in UEFA Champions League is also going to be different. And people have seen the pros and cons of both. But now we have the best player in the world, in my opinion, and according to Emma Hayes, going over to Chelsea, and she's going to get that exposure. She's going to be able to see what it's like on the other side of the pond. And hopefully it allows her to become even more well-rounded as a defender and as a player, allow her to figure out different styles and figure out how to, encounter different players, some of whom are among the best in the world. But in the end, the NWSL needs to realize that they just need to continue to remain competitive. They need to continue, not just from a parity standpoint, as far as the teams all going for it, but also in retaining some of the top talent and encouraging some of the best players on the planet to come to our shores to play soccer. It has been fun to watch as a fan. It has been fun to be, just see how the growth of the game in this country has gone and how it's accelerated with some of these younger stars like Naomi Girma and Triple Espresso. But we want to keep it going. We want to keep the momentum going. And just because Naomi Girma has left the league doesn't mean that the league cannot continue to build. They got expansion. Of course, they got a couple of teams coming in, Boston and perhaps Denver. They have more money, more investment, better TV nights, better TV slots. And they have these young players who they can market. And you get to see them in every single city that has a team. As a Washington Spirit fan, I get to see the best players from every team come here every single season. And they get to play competitive soccer in what is probably the best league in the world to me. So I'm really excited for Naomi Girma. I'm really excited for what this means for the women's game. More record transfer fees. I hope that's not the last. But again, Naomi Girma is the best. So it's going to be hard to figure out how to make it where you eclipse that number without moving her. Because I think the idea should be, if you're not Naomi Girma, you should not be commanding more than her. But that's going to happen one day. And maybe that means more salaries, bigger salaries for more players, the elimination of salary caps and other investments that'll help improve teams and also encourage better players to come. And I really enjoy what this season is coming. 2025 is right around the corner. The season starts, I believe, in 6 weeks with the Challenge Cup. Washington Spirit going down to Orlando Pride, a rematch of the NWSL final from last season. And then you have the season off and rolling. And I think the league is going to continue to thrive. It's going to continue to grow. They need to make sure they're doing the right things to not shoot themselves in the foot along the way. But Naomi Girma going to Chelsea, I'm very much looking forward to watching her play there. It increases the fact that we have increased exposure and access to the WSL makes it where we can watch her every week, which I think is terrific. And so I really look forward to that, and really look forward to her continuing to excel at her craft of being the best player that this planet has on the women's side. And I, for one, think Chelsea is very, very lucky that they have Naomi Girma on their team, and I'm sure they count their blessings that they were able to bring her over. That will do it for episode 148 of the USA Soccercast. Thank you for listening. Remember to follow us on Blue Sky. We're on Twitter and we're on YouTube as well. Find us on all those platforms at USA Soccercast. Subscribe, rate, and review our episodes. It really helps and is greatly appreciated. Don't forget, we have affiliate programs with a ton of places to get you the gear you love and help you travel to see our teams play or watch your favorite team from the comfort of your home. Head to our Linktree, linktree.com/USA Soccercast to learn more. Click the links to all of these sites and our stimulus store and support the show in the process. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.